Stress. Stress affects all of us to varying degrees, and it will always pop up throughout our lives, and we need to find ways that we deal with that. You get different types of stress. You get good stress, which actually helps you achieve things, and then you got bad stress. And the one I'm going to be talking about today is bad stress and how just a simple walk actually sorted me out. It takes a lot to get me stressed, like really stressed, to the point that I can't even function. But sadly, that's what happened recently. I got extremely stressed and I just really was not feeling myself, and it was starting to have an effect on other areas of my life and the way that I dealt with people, and I really was not enjoying it at all. It just was not a fun time. Of course, I've felt stress before, we all have, but for me, it had never got to this point before, to the point where I had to stop. The thing is, I actually have ways of dealing with stress, and I've made videos about it before, which I'll pop up here and in the description for you. I hadn't been taking my own advice from those videos, and I just was not processing things properly. I'd completely stopped journaling, which is really bad because that's an important thing to dealing with stress. I needed to take some time to process my thoughts, but the problem is I needed to create that time because I'm either working, or if I'm not at work, I've got my son around, who's very stressful to deal with. He's a very energetic 3-year-old. Or I'm trying to make videos. I needed to make time, and I thought one of the best things to do is to cut into the time that I'd usually be at work. So with one of my 2 weekly one-to-ones that I have with my manager, I kind of explained the situation to him, how I was feeling, and that I needed some time to get away from everything, out of the house, just be on my own. He was very understanding, very accommodating, and he actually agreed to let me take some time off. Now, I was just going to take 1 day, but he actually suggested I take 2 days. So 2 days I took. I spent the first day off by journaling, writing out all of my thoughts, and just generally relaxing in the house. It's so much easier to process things if you write everything out that's inside your head. Just get every single thing out of your head onto paper or screen. In my case, I like to use Notion for my journaling, because once it's all out and set in front of you and you can physically see it, it's not just a jumbled mess in your head. You actually see your thoughts in front of you. You could look through it and really process it and start to piece things together and just really work through it. And that's one of the reasons I think journaling is incredibly powerful, not just to reduce stress, but just to make your everyday life simpler. And I've made a few videos on why I think journaling is so important and how it's affected me. So if that's something that you're really into, I'd really appreciate a sub to the channel. So that was the first day, which was successful. But the second day is where things got much clearer and much better. I journaled again in the morning, which makes total sense because it helped the first day. And then I had planned on taking a really nice long walk on my own. However, my partner also wanted to go on a really nice long walk in the same area, and it would have been really weird if we kind of went there and walked alone but not alone. We'd have ended up just passing each other all the time while we're walking. So in the end, we did decide to walk together. And it turns out, not a 10-minute walk away from my house, there's a nature reserve, which I had no idea about. I've only lived here a year and I never leave the house, so forgive me for that. Now, we all know that walking in nature has its benefits, and some of these, as listed on the website for the mental health charity Mind, says improve confidence and self-esteem. It reduces loneliness and reduces feelings of stress and anger. The last one is what I really needed to do, reduce my stress and anger. The day started out like any other. I woke up and carried out my incredibly efficient morning routine, which I will make a video about at some point. But then, instead of just driving my son to nursery to then come home, me and my partner, we decided we'd walk our son to nursery. It's literally round the corner from there to get to the nature reserve. And before we got to the reserve, we saw a lovely mummified fox on the side of the road. That was great. It was missing an eye. Being out in nature was great. And it really made a difference from sitting in here all day, because this is what I do. I sit in here day in and day out. I spend most of my time in this room. So it's really nice to get outside. But anyway, we got to the reserve, and there's many different points that you could enter from. But there was one thing I noticed as we was walking along the road. I looked up and I saw what looked like an abandoned house. It was boarded up, still in pretty good condition. And I was just like, well, let's go check that out. Because it reminded me of this old abandoned nursing home that me and my friends used to go in and explore when we were younger. Of course, being young and naive like that, we always imagined that it was haunted and there was ghosts in there and it was all creepy and freaky and scary. And I would never be the first person to go in there because I am a wimp. So yeah, we had a look around this old abandoned house and that's exactly what it is. We only looked around the outside, there was no way to get in, and it probably wouldn't have been safe to go in anyway, but it was cool. It was right next to the main path as well. Path actually circles the entire reserve, so you could just walk around in a loop. Or there is loads of offshoots that kind of head towards the middle, and throughout those there's then more paths that shoot off from that. So what was really fun on this walk was coming up to a part that splits and then going, what way shall we go? And then just be like, this way, let's walk this way. And we had no idea which direction we was going. I got completely turned around at one point. I was just like, what way actually is this? Which was great. It was just like, didn't have a care in the world. Now usually when I walk, I've got headphones in. I'll be listening to a podcast or an audiobook or music. I'll be listening to something. I've been trying to practice being present and actually taking in my surroundings and just being in that moment, taking notice of the small things that are going on around me. I was looking at all the different specific plants, trees, how the path was actually different in some places. Like, it's weird to think, I was just examining the actual path I was walking on. But this is also a reason why I didn't take many photos. I took a couple of pictures of the house, but that's pretty much the only pictures I took. I didn't actually take any pictures on the walk. And that's because I wanted to live through it myself, and it's only 10 minutes from my house. If I want to get pictures, I'll just go back. But this walk was important to me that I just was there. And then while we were in one of these offshoots that we were walking through, I just stopped. I just stopped in the middle of the path and my partner was like, what? And I just listen. And above us, we just heard birds, just bird calls all around us, all above our heads. There were so many just different calls. So it wasn't the amount of birds, it was the amount of different birds that I could hear. And I stood there and they were going mental and I just smiled. It was one of those moments where just you're filled with pure joy where you can't help but smile. The smile was basically involuntary. Like usually we'd be walking through here with headphones or just in our own heads, walking through, not taking any notice of what's going on around us. And there's just this whole world happening above our heads. It was definitely the highlight of the walk and the highlight of my day, to be honest. It was what I put down as the main highlight of my day when I was writing the 5-minute journal that evening. That's also something I've never done before. I've never just stopped in my tracks to observe something that's going on around me before. And it wasn't long after that we actually came to a nice clearing of trees. And that's when we did take pictures. We actually took some rather silly pictures on my partner's phone. So she was doing panoramics where I basically reenacted the scene from The Office where they're holding up guns to each other, but it was with myself. So I'd hold up finger guns and then run around my partner to the other side, so it looks like I'm trying to shoot myself. Very original. Silly moments like that where you just whatever, makes you forget all your worries, just be silly once in a while. And then we were done. We'd been walking for a couple hours, so we decided that was it, we'd go home now. And we had fun. And the whole walk itself was just a truly great experience for me. And it was after this walk that I instantly felt better. The stress that I talked about before, it was gone. The journaling each morning obviously really helped to get some perspective and get everything out in front of me so I could process things. But it wasn't until after the walk that I really calmed down and felt the biggest difference. This pressure that I had in my head, a weird just force that was inside my head, gone, and my mood had instantly lifted. I was more patient. I could deal with things again. So I made a commitment to myself to start walking regularly, and I've been back there almost every day since now to walk around. On my own this time. I recommend it. I recommend if you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, then just take a step back and go out for a walk somewhere. Get out of the house or just get away from the space or people that you spend all your time with and just try and get some mental real estate back. Now you don't need a nature reserve near your house like I have. I'm just incredibly fortunate to have that. The main thing is just getting out of the space and away from the people that cause you the most stress. Just for a little bit. And I really suggest just being present while you're on this walk. Take notice of the things around you. Don't put headphones in. It's actually incredible the things that you notice when you start looking at the small things. It really helped me. It sorted me right out, and the stress that I was feeling is gone. So if you're able to get out the house just for a little bit and go for a walk, and that helps you out, even just a little bit, it's completely worth it. Try it, and let me know how you get on in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, then you might also enjoy my video about how gratitude journaling has made me happier, and you can see that right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you over there. Bye bye.